Can you please announce this in Haitian Creole? Marie, are you speaking on your channel? Okay, I think Marie is speaking on the Haitian Creole channel right now. And I think we should be all set. So if anyone has questions about interpretation or needs tech support, please send a direct message to Magda or Fabiano. And let's continue. So welcome to the Somerville Mayoral Candidates Forum on Housing. My name is Sam, and I'm a community organizer at CAAS, the Community Action Agency of Somerville. We are very proud to host this event in partnership with the Somerville Renters Committee. Before we begin, I just want to review a few more event logistics. The agenda for tonight's forum will include welcome and ground rules from the Renters Committee, opening statements from the candidates, 1 hour of open-ended housing questions, followed by a lightning round of yes or no questions, and lastly, our closing around 8:30 p.m. For this forum, our questions are already prepared for the candidates. However, if you have more questions at the end of the event, we encourage you to contact the candidates directly. We have turned off videos and sound for all attendees so that the focus can remain on the candidates. The chat is also closed, except if you need technical assistance with Zoom. Like I said, please message Magda or Fabiano from CAAS directly if you need any help. Reminder that this event is being recorded, and later this week we will follow up via email with the link to this recording, as well as with the links to the candidates' questionnaire responses. And for tonight's event, as you see, we have simultaneous interpretation from English into multiple languages: Spanish, Portuguese, and Haitian Creole. We are grateful for the time and expertise of our interpreters who are ensuring language access for this event. Again, thank you all so much for being here. And now I would like to pass it to Akita from the Somerville Renters Committee.
Welcome. Good evening to the candidates, neighbors of Somerville and outside the city, and members of CAAS, the Community Action Agency of Somerville. My name is Akita, and I'm a resident of Ward 1 and a member of the Somerville Renters Committee. The Somerville Renters Committee was formed in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, but we have been experiencing the affordable housing crisis firsthand and much longer. As an organized group of working class and low-income renters from many different backgrounds, the Somerville Renters Committee is building a movement of families and neighbors to make Somerville a better city for all. Tonight for our forum, we will really appreciate all 4 mayoral candidates for taking time to speak to residents of Somerville. This is a non-partisan and non-endorsement event. We look forward to hearing the answers to our committee's questions on housing and how we can make sure that working class and low-income residents can remain in the city we all call home. As a reminder of our forum ground rules, we ask that you please speak clearly, please speak slowly and clearly for the interpreters. Please keep the forum professional. No attacks between candidates, no interruptions, and no offensive language will be tolerated. Please stick to the time given for your answer during each part of your forum, and please stick to the topic of the question. Matt from a committee will be assisting with the ground rule keeping. Again, thank you for being here tonight. I will now pass it to Nicole.
Thank you so much, Akita. My name is Nicole, and I'm the Director of Community Organizing at CAAS. and I'm also a Ward 1 resident. So now we will begin with opening statements. So mayoral candidates have 3 minutes each to share their opening statements on who they are and their vision for housing in Somerville. So we will begin in alphabetical order by last name and then rotate that order throughout the forum. So Sam will be assisting with the timekeeping. So I'm not sure if we should share screen because it will replace the views of the candidates. But I think we can also give that a shot if candidates want to be able to see the timer that you have. But we'll first begin with Tatiana Valentin. So Tatiana, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to CAAS. Thank you to the Somerville Renters Committee and to everybody who's here today. My name is Tatiana Valentine. I'm running for mayor of Somerville. I'm optimistic about Somerville because I know when we work together, we can accomplish anything. When I announced that I was running for mayor, I said then that our next mayor needs to have 3 key qualities. She needs to embody the cultures and values of Somerville. She needs to have an inclusive leadership style, and she needs to have the skills and experience to be our next chief executive. And I believe I best bring those 3 key qualities to the office of mayor. A little bit about my immigrant story. I was born and orphaned in Greece. I was adopted there by a Scottish father and a Czech German mother. We are a family of immigrants. We immigrated to the United States when I was 4. I learned then that sometimes people are afraid of differences. It could be your accent, it could be your food, or it could simply be your culture. I learned then to value differences, to make sure that everyone feels comfortable and has a seat at the table. I was the first in my family to go to college. I got a bachelor's degree and an MBA. I've been working for about 30 years. I started off in business, international supply chain management, some startups. And then for the last almost 20 years, I've been working and volunteering for affordability, working for an affordable housing developer in Boston, working to create jobs in workforce development, connecting local people to local jobs, giving them skills training, giving them living wages, giving them opportunities to start their own companies in the green economy, in energy efficiency and contracting. And I'm also been executive director of a violence prevention nonprofit for at-risk girls. My professional experience has taught me to value inclusive leadership. Guess what? It gets messy. It takes a little bit longer, but at the end of the day, you get buy-in, you get shared purpose, and you get enthusiasm about the end results. And that's when we do our best work. I moved to Somerville in 1993 in a place that was fast changing, embracing its diversity and values. I thought I could live here, and I'm grateful that my husband and I planted our roots and raised our 2 daughters here. My vision for Somerville is a city that is inclusive, that's equitable, where we can all thrive together. And I hope that I can earn your support on September 14th. Thank you.
Thank you, Tatiana. So second, we will have Mary Casso. So Mary, you have 3 minutes, but I just want to give a quick heads up. We are bringing Sam back onto the spotlight. She will be holding her cell phone to the screen with the timer because our Blue Sky timer is having some issues. So once Sam holds up her timer, you can begin.
All right, and I'm gonna hit it right now.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks, everyone. I'm Mary Casso. I'm excited to run for mayor of Somerville. I grew up in a 3-family apartment in Somerville. As a lifelong resident of East Somerville, I love the city of Somerville and I have deep passion and dedication to the city. As mayor, I will build a city that leaves no one behind and advances the values of equitable, safe, welcoming, and inclusive community. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Inequities were exposed and deepened. I was serving as the Chief Community Officer for the Cambridge Health Alliance. Sam, I'm nearsighted, I realized. You'll have to wave. Sorry, and I'm wasting my minutes. It was the exposures and the inequities that led me to run for the mayor of Somerville. I have been committed since I was a young child to causes because of my mother, whether it was working for farm workers or working for creating a health equity health center that didn't exist, and even working with United Farm Workers for fair wages, etc. This was my life, and this is the work I decided as the first member of my family to attend college and graduate school to do. I have extensive executive experience. I've worked for Mayor Brune in the city of Somerville in social services, in transforming all of the financial functions that work today. I was an undersecretary for Governor Dukakis in the state's housing agency. I have served 30 years on the Affordable Housing Trust Fund as Assistant Cabinet Secretary in Health and Human Services. All of these experiences with my lived experiences of growing up poor in a rental unit and always worrying about the social factors of life is the experience that I will bring for the Somerville we want in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. So Sam, I'm going to help you with the timer on this next one. There's a timer app on your phone. So Will, I'm going to have you unmute. So third, we'll have Will and Ba. Your 3 minutes has begun.
Am I unmuted? Oh, you already, okay, that's fine. Thank you, everyone. I'm happy to be here, one of the city councilor at large. I'm running for mayor because for too long, the needs of the most marginalized in our communities have been ignored. Government is not working for them, and because it's way too hard for people to afford to live and raise their families here. I know exactly how this feels. I'm an immigrant from Cameroon, and I know what it feels like when you're working hard but barely getting by. My parents both died when I was a young boy, and I was raised by my family members and in a foster home. In 2010, I was lucky enough to be selected to receive a visa to come to the United States and work. I quickly fell in love with Somerville and was eager to participate in the community. This led to me working with organizations like East Somerville Main Street, which board of directors I served on. But when I came here, I saw that our government did not always work for you when you need it most. I experienced this firsthand when I tried to apply for Mass Health and I was denied. So many people in Somerville have a similar experience, whether it be with housing or education. I've experienced these issues as well. I know what it's like to move every year because of rising rents. I know how issues of environmental justice are intertwined with issues of racial justice. There has been progress on some of these issues, but it has not happened quick enough. Until we have a government that reflects the population that is serving, how can we talk about issues of racial equity and environmental justice? That's why I'm running for mayor, to accelerate our community's progress on these issues and change the conversation. I have a track record that demonstrates what we can achieve if I'm elected mayor. On the city council, I led the effort to create the Office of Housing Stability because I know how it feels not to know where you're going to live. I led the effort to ban racial profiling and create the Civilian Oversight Board because it was a step towards justice. And I've been there to tackle problems big and small whenever our neighbors have needed someone to fight for them. And you can be assured that I will always put the needs of our neighbors first ahead of the needs of developers. I'm the only candidate in this race to not accept money from real estate developers. Right now, the most marginalized and vulnerable in our Somerville community do not have a seat at the table, but developers and special interests from outside of our community do. If I'm elected mayor, I promise you I'm going to change that. I'm grateful for the opportunity and I look forward to answering your questions tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Will. And then lastly, we're going to have William Bilitoro go. So Sam, just want to check, is the timer ready?
Yes, it's ready. Thank you. Ready?
I'm ready. Hi, my name is William Bilitoro. I'm running for mayor of Somerville. I come from a family of immigrants. My mother and father immigrated here from Italy. My wife is half Portuguese, half Brazilian. My daughter and my son from my prior marriage are both Italian. My daughter married a man of Indian descent, my son-in-law, and I have a granddaughter that's half Indian, half Italian. My other son has 3 stepdaughters, which I brought into life. Now they're 2 stepdaughters and 1 stepson, and they're both African. All 3 of them are Afro-American. I have 1 Japanese and 2 Chinese nephews that live in us households as well. I'm the publisher of the Somerville Medford News Weekly. I've been writing the paper for over 15 years, covering all the news in Somerville. I've been around Somerville for over 60 years. I bring a wealth of knowledge to the city of Somerville, of business experiences, and I think I'd be the right man for the job. My wife, coming from Brazil, you know, it was tough getting the job, getting housing. Same thing with my parents, same thing with my daughter-in-laws. It was tough getting housing and starting businesses and getting jobs. I want to change that. I want to make it an open door policy in the office of the mayor. I want people to be able to walk in the office, no appointment necessary, no red tape, get in there, get it done, and get them on their way to the right road to the American dream. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Billy, and thank you, candidates. I will now pass it to Marla to begin our housing questions. Oh, hang on just a sec, Marla. Okay, I just asked you.
Yes, I unmuted myself. Thank you. So, hi, my name is Marla Aguirre, and I'm in Ward 4, and I'm a member of the Somerville Renters Committee. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to answer, right? The questions developed by the Renters Committee, which reflect on our own experiences and hopes for housing in Somerville. The question number 1 is, far too many residents are still struggling to pay rent due to income loss during the COVID-19 pandemic, especially those who work in the service sector, gig economy, or undocumented. Immigrants who might not qualify for traditional types of rental assistance. How would you support the recovery of residents in these situations so that they remain stably housed? And Nicole is going to ask questions to each candidate.
Okay, Sam, is the timer ready? We will have Mary go first.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. And as I mentioned, and I cut my intro remarks short because I couldn't see the timer. So I understand what it's like. Thank you, Sam. I see it really well now. I understand what it's like. I mentioned that I grew up in a 3 family apartment, and my mom was a single mother. And so we were able to have an affordable housing unit because of my grandmother. But I know it was always a struggle, and the safety net for us was our family. And we need a safety net for all people that struggle with their rents. First off, we need to provide right to counsel. We need everyone who is challenged with eviction or losing their unit to stay in place and have a right to counsel. That's the most affordable and equitable way. We need to start taking advantage of state resources, the American Rescue Act, and the expanded tax base in Somerville to provide more opportunities both to create new affordable housing, because creating wealth is important. My mother didn't buy her first house until she was 62 years old, and I was able to co-sign for her. That was a huge and important step for her. So with these resources that we can get from the government and an expanded tax base, let's create more housing opportunities. Let's preserve all of the natural occurring affordable housing. There are folks that live in the city that are committed to keeping units affordable for family or their new family because relationships develop. And finally, finally, we need to do a better job protecting all existing community-owned housing, investing in it on an ongoing basis so we do not have unsafe housing, mold and mildew in the public housing units that is unacceptable. So if we do those three things, create, preserve, and protect, if we provide counsel, if we develop, if we expand staff to help with counseling, advocacy, like what you do, I think we will be further along in the journey to help people that want to stay in Somerville as their home. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Once Sam is ready with the timer, Will, you are next.
Okay, here we go.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you for that question. I think, like Mary said, you know, we need to do right to counsel, but I will say right now, I want to focus first of all on fully fund and expand the Office of Housing Stability, because there's been doing a lot of great work to help, you know, our renters. Shout out to Director Shachter. I don't give her a shout out a lot, but you know, that is her purview, and you know, I'm really grateful for the work she's doing. Extend the eviction moratorium. That is something that you know, I will be looking forward to, because this is happening right now. And also work with community organizations also that are doing the work on the ground, like mutual aid, mamas. It's like grassroots, because not everybody qualify, you know, with some of these traditional types of assistance that the city is offering. So we need to partner with this community organization that can help people that don't qualify. Again, wrap it up by saying that this, you know, we need to now really focus on our tenants' bill of rights, you know, like to make sure that there's like free legal counsel, you know, right to purchase, and then look about stabilizing, you know, renters in the future by, you know, enacting rent control or an improved version of that bill. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Will. So Billy, you are next once Sam is ready with the timer.
Okay, ready to go.
Ready to go. Okay, I've already hit the ground running, boots on the ground for the past year and a half during this pandemic. I have a full staff that have been helping Somerville residents who have been displaced, who have been on for eviction. We're helping them get the needed funding. We're filling out the applications for them. Like I said, I'm gonna have an open door policy. I answer my own phone. I don't have a secretary. I'm always available for everybody. And my staff will always help people to get the housing, fill out the paperwork, everything they need. My wife is launching a program to help immigrants. We realized the struggle it was when she came and my parents came here. So my wife is reaching out to the Latino community right now, where she's Brazilian and Portuguese, and she's creating a program to help them get their apartments, to help them first-time buyers to buy their own home. She's even helping them to start their own business, secure jobs, and hire immigrant workers. So we've already been doing that for the last year and a half. My number is 617-293-2016. I answer my own phone. Give me a call. I'll set you up on an appointment. My staff, if you need housing, will get you the housing within a day. But my staff is pretty efficient. We're all professionals. They're qualified in the experience. We've been doing this for a while. My wife's going to be doing this and spearheading this program, not getting paid for it. She's going to be volunteering like she's been volunteering the whole time along. We've helped many immigrants over the last year and a half, and we're going to continue to do it. I've been helping the seniors for the past 20 years, and the veterans for the past 20 years. I never ran for political office. I didn't want to, didn't need to. The only reason I'm running for office now is I saw the direction the city's going, and I didn't like it. The residents need help, the seniors need help, and the veterans need help. The kids need help, and we have to get the drugs and the violence off the street. That's why I'm running for mayor.
Thank you, Billy. And last we have Tatiana, once the timer is ready.
Okay, one moment, please. All right, ready to go.
Great, thank you. And thank you for the question. During the last year of the quarantine, I started a private food donation program called Somerville's Neighbors, #Neighbors Helping Neighbors. I collected and donated groceries and $25 grocery gift cards that were delivered to my front door with the help of neighbors, with people in our community, and we delivered those groceries and gift cards to the people who needed them most over in Clarendon Hill Public Housing and Clarendon Hill Towers. Estimated that there was over $25,000 in worth of groceries and gift cards. Also during the quarantine, I wrote a legislative order to create a guaranteed income program trial for Somerville, known as GIPs. They create basic minimum incomes for qualified residents, similar to the Universal Basic Income Program. Such programs are highly regarded for their local and direct administration. I also co-sponsored the resolution declaring the state of emergency for women to address the disproportionate losses and harm affecting women and women-led households in Somerville. I strongly support the creation and supported the creation of the Office of Housing Stability as a key line of defense for our residents who have been and continue to be impacted by COVID, and also, supporting the help with CAAS and the Somerville Homeless Coalition. I strongly support the eviction moratorium at all levels of government now, and most importantly, Somerville's eviction moratorium. I'm sure the local moratorium will have to be extended again as the state and the federal government resolve things. I will use my full power as mayor to hold the line against evictions until resources have been fully deployed and more resources are deployed if necessary. This may take a long time and will necessitate the mayor's office and the Office of Housing Stability to be vocal in leading on this issue with regards to public education, outreach, enforcement, and bolstering the relief delivery system. Thank you.
And now asking our second question.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Magdalena Gomez, and I am a community organizer at CAAS. Question number 2 is, the housing in Somerville that is available for low-income residents, including publicly owned, inclusionary, and other types of subsidized and privately owned, is often full of bad conditions, health and safety code violations. How would you ensure that all renters are guaranteed safe and dignified housing in our city?
Thank you, Magda. And Will be our first candidate once the timer is ready.
Yep. Thank you. Is the timer ready? I can see it. Yep. Okay. Thank you. No, I appreciate, like that question. I think one thing that we need to do, in our community is, first of all, to make sure that people live in a safe housing. And so that means that even retrofitting all the housing that we have to make sure that the tenants are well protected, and also focus about making sure that they have like HEPA filters for indoor filtration, removing toxic paint and lead pipes, and all these different things that we as as a community, or we can create policy that incentivizes landlords to create a habitable environment for tenants. And even infestation, there are tenants that live in deplorable condition, but we need to be able to establish pilot program that provides incentive for residents and landlords to be able to create and upgrade their homes before tenants come into their place. So that is something I'm committed to doing. We need to hold landlords, accountable as they are actually providing housing for their tenants. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Second, we will have Billy once the timer is ready.
Okay, it's ready.
I've been discussing this problem for a while. For the past 2 years, I've been going around to 7 to 8 different cities and towns, talking to the local mayors and asking what are they doing to make sure to ensure that the tenants are safe and they're okay with their apartments. The city of Everett, it was a perfect example. Before someone can rent out an apartment in the city of Everett, a team of inspectors have to go through that whole unit. They go through it from up to down. They test how hot the water is. They test the temperature. They test the insulation. They test everything in there. And if it passes, it passes. If it doesn't pass, they get fined and they can't rent the unit out. That tenant, as long as they stay there, if they have to rent it out again, they're gonna get inspected again. And there's no going away. There's no going around it. If they try to rent it without inspecting the place, they get heavily fined. And all the units have to be maintained properly. And I'm going to ask for all rental units to have 6 to 12-month inspection periods, so the tenant will come in. If there's any problems, fill out a form, tell us what the problems are. We address it to the landlord. If he doesn't fix it, our inspectors will go in there and they'll do the job. The city of Somerville has been sleeping for the past 7 to 10 years. The city of Everett, out of all the cities I visited, has it going on, and I want to follow that motto. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Billy. Just a reminder to all candidates to please speak a bit more slowly in order for our interpreters to be able to keep up with what you're saying this evening. Yeah, no worries. I know this is an important topic. So next we will have Tatiana once the timer is ready.
Okay, it's ready.
Thank you. I've always been transparent and deliberate, considerate and responsive to any housing complaint around the city for bad conditions, health and safety, as a ward counselor, any code violations. I've never dismissed these types of complaints, and I have always given residents and tenants my full respect. I will continue to do this as mayor, and will convene the City of Somerville's interdepartmental teams on a routine basis to make improvements in this area and to ensure rapid enforcement responses. I am also aware that many public and private affordable housing developments sometimes struggle financially as increased maintenance and repair costs outstrip the restricted incomes they receive for the development. In these cases, such in Clarendon Hill Public Housing, I will use the powers of the mayor's office to seek local, state, federal resources to close the funding gaps and help make sure that any violations or unsafe and unhealthy home environments are rectified. Housing is a human right. Thank you.
Thank you, Tatiana. And last, we will have Mary once the timer is ready.
Okay, the timer is ready.
Thanks, Sam. This is a particularly important issue to me. As the former chief community officer at Cambridge Health Alliance, I spent years making certain that everyone understood that the health of our community is what is happening on the streets and at home in our community. So housing and the housing condition is a huge factor in someone's overall well-being, both their physical and mental health. And for that reason, not only in Somerville, but in Malden, Medford, Chelsea, Revere, Everett, Winthrop, I created lots of programs to make certain we are addressing people's overall health. Food programs over many years, oral health programs at Somerville High School because teens were missing food, missing school because of pain. So focusing on well-being and health equity is huge. I agree that we will need more enforcement and more collaboration with all of the agencies of the city to intertwine and align our commitment. I think we should have audits of housing. And I think we should have more inspections because it is important to support people who sometimes will accept the condition because they are so concerned about losing the housing. So I think that is essential. I also think that we do need to realize that adequately funding maintenance for some of the creating and preserving homes is essential. folks get concerned. But then the units become so deteriorated, we almost have to rebuild. So I am very committed and ran all of the large budgets, including the $15 billion one of the state, maintaining the services and having adequate funds. I work very closely with our federal, state delegation, and all of the mayors in the delegation from all of the other cities I mentioned. And a lot of the focus was on housing, and in particular with Somerville leading the way, because while we have some superstars like Ellen, there is more work we need. There are more resources, especially taking advantage of state resources where you do not, you are not excluded because of your immigration status. So I think all of those opportunities will be brought to bear in a very coordinated fashion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mary. So for next question, number 3, this question will be asked by our Somerville Renters Committee member, Yolanda, who speaks Spanish. Mario, our Spanish interpreter, will be interpreting her words for non-Spanish speakers. So Yolanda, please go ahead.
Buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Yolanda. Soy residente del Distrito 1 y miembro del Comité de Inquilinos de Somerville. La pregunta número 3 es: los residentes de bajos ingresos a menudo se enfrentan a propietarios y administradores de propiedades que pueden ser agresivos. Algunos inquilinos que son personas de color o inmigrantes han experimentado racismo y otras formas de discriminación. Esto significa que incluso los residentes pueden permitirse vivir en Somerville. No se sienten bienvenidos ni acogidos acá. ¿Qué haría para asegurarse de que todos los residentes sientan que pertenecen a nuestra ciudad, que estén autorizados a defender sus derechos como inquilinos y estén protegidos contra represalias? Si se postula para la reelección, comparta lo que ha hecho sobre este tema y lo que pretende priorizar a continuación.
Muchas gracias, Yolanda. So Billy, once the timer is ready, you will be first. And just a reminder to speak slowly and clearly for the interpreters.
You got it. Tell
Okay,
me when.
timer is ready.
Yeah, you know, something that's a very good question. You know, I'm not gonna tolerate any bad landlords. If you're a bad landlord, my door's gonna be open to everybody. You come into the mayor's office, we'll help you file the complaint. We'll try to get it resolved. We'll get the issues done. That's part of the program that my wife's gonna be in charge of on her own time for free of charge. Help us to help immigrants and help the individual who's a renter. If they have a hostile landlord, we don't want that. And they can come to us. Our door will be open. We're not going to discriminate against anybody. You know, I have every nationality under my household, so I'm part of all of this. And we've gotten complaints already by bad landlords. We've handled it. We've gone to the landlords with my team. We've tried to mediate their problems. So far, 98% success we've been doing for the last year in that. There are a few bad landlords out there, but there are still an awful lot of good ones. And we'd like to keep them a lot of good ones, and we'll keep them tamed like that as well. My door will always be open. If there's ever a problem like that, you come into the mayor's office, we'll escort you personally. And you can call me 24/7 on my cell phone, and I will answer it, and I will get it done for you. I promise.
Thank you, Billy. Second, we will have Tatiana once the timer is ready.
Okay, the timer is ready.
Thank you, Yolanda, for the question. I will use the full force of the mayor's office to increase the scope of our Fair Housing Commission, as well as the Office of Housing Stability. I will also call on legal assistance and state commissions for help on these matters. I will use all forms of media and outreach to provide a clear and firm public education, and tenant landlord responsibilities and rights. I have always been, as a ward counselor, transparent, deliberative, considerate, respectful, and responsive to any housing issues or landlord issues when constituents have reached out to me. And I will continue to do this as mayor. There is no room in our city for any forms of racism or xenophobia or any types of hate. Thank you.
Thank you, Tatiana. Next, we will have Mary when the timer is ready.
Okay, the timer is ready.
Thank you. Thank you. First off, I want to say that I talk about leading through my values in my commitment for inclusivity, diversity, equity, and that has been recognized when I was at Harvard Medical School. I was the only person in the history to win 3 awards, one for my commitment to diversity, one for my commitment to community, and one for my commitment to advancing women. And we know lots of times, like my mother, being a single mother, and during the pandemic, we saw the additional struggles women faced, that we need to make certain that we're clear about our values and our priorities. So I wanted to establish that as very important. Secondly, I feel strongly that we need to invest more resources in housing. The Housing Stability Office has been so recognized and is such a leader, but more resources there would be important as well, though, for the work that CAAS does and for the work that's done in the Homeless Coalition. The Affordable Housing Trust Fund has long funded wraparound services and other ways of making certain we're taking care of all of the issues, not in isolation, dealing with the issue of housing. So that would be important. I already mentioned inspectional enforcement, mediation, which I think has been so important, and it is a part of the overall picture. And I think working with the new Office of Racial and Social Justice would be important. More advocacy, outreach, and bringing those to the people, meeting them where they're at, not always having a person go into, and that's how we were effective during the pandemic. We brought testing and we brought vaccinations to churches, mosques, temples. We meet the people where they're at, and that's the right way to do it for housing and to stabilize people's housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And lastly, for this question, we will have Will once the timer is ready.
Okay, it is ready.
Thank you. Thank you for this question. I think this question is really personal to me because I've experienced housing discrimination before. And so we need to do everything in our power to eradicate it. Landlords, cannot just go wild. One of the things we need to do is to be able to even be a landlord, you need to have a license and have certain, criteria that you have to meet before you rent your house. Can have a house, like with a rat infestation or things that are hazardous to tenants and people don't know. That is something that I will be committed to doing. Also expanding the purview of the Fair Housing Commission, giving them the resources and the tools they need to hold landlords accountable and even, penalize them for default. That is something that we need to do. How do we even create a database throughout the city, where complaints, like people, where everybody that has a complaint against the landlord is right there. This will incentivize landlords to actually, behave properly, because nobody wants to, you want to rent a house, there's a database, you can see that, oh, wow, this person, has done this, never, kept his home up to date, and there's all this craziness going on. So when you have that database, it will incentivize landlords to be able to do the right thing. So those 3 things, having a license program, expanding the purview of the Fair Housing, Commission to give them the resources they need to do their job, and then citywide database for complaints against landlords. I'm telling you, day one, the landlords, they will straighten up and tenants will start to enjoy, like this dignified housing that we are talking about today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Will. And now I'm going to pass it to Matt for question number 4.
Hello, candidates. My name is Matt. I'm a Ward 4 resident and a member of the Somerville Renters Committee. Question number 4 is, as Mayor of Somerville, how would your administration collaborate with members of the City Council to protect Somerville renters from displacement due to development? And how would you ensure that new development give the allocated number of units to low-income residents, as the oversight seems to be lacking or non-existent?
Thank you, Matt. And we will have Tatiana go first once the timer is ready.
Okay, the timer is ready.
Thank you for the question. In my 7 years as a city council, 7.5 years, and twice elected city council president, I've earned the reputation of being an inclusive leader. It takes a little bit longer, it gets a little bit messy, but you create buy-in, you get shared purpose, and you get much more enthusiasm because it's been a collaborative, inclusive process. As mayor, I will continue leading by including all stakeholders, by collaboration. The crisis of affordability that we face together in Somerville has inspired us to take action in the past by designing and implementing many effective initiatives together. We must continue to work together for the future to innovate and implement additional solutions and problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Tatiana. Second, we will have Mary once the timer is ready.
Thank you.
Okay, the timer is ready.
Okay, thank you. There are many things that we need to do. And in fact, there has been a monthly housing meeting that has occurred that is essential in terms of the coordination of our nonprofit colleagues with city officials. And this has been a particularly effective tool and provides input to the city's housing offices, and through that, the mayor and the councils, I'm sure. We are always proud to do an annual report from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, documenting the work that we've done, but the needs we continue to see. I think that we need to think about district improving financing, bonds for more housing. 100 Homes was just such a program that did exactly that. And it's been terrific in terms of preserving affordable housing. So I think in addition, one of the challenges we face, because after Governor Dukakis and I worked with his administration, the state got out of the housing business for some time, as did the federal government do much less in housing. There were less vouchers, there was less investment in public housing, renovations, et cetera. We need a pipeline every year. And even with the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, there were years that there weren't projects coming our way. So we need to make certain we are identifying and funding and finding projects to keep that pipeline moving. We need more city land. I think we could also seed fund the trust fund, the Housing Land Trust Fund, to help create more housing. And finally, and we've talked about it, look at linkage fee legislation. I think Representative Provo, when she was at the state, and now Mike Connolly has taken up that mantra. I think the enforcement of the condominium conversion law has been effective, and we need to make certain that is happening. And in that pipeline that I talk about of housing, let's be certain there are 2 right through 4 bedroom units being created for families in Somerville too. So in summary, those are the initiatives I would take. Just keep us moving on an ongoing basis and don't shut down the pipeline again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And third, we will have Will once the timer is ready.
Thank you. Again, this is where I will give a shout out again to Director Shachter, because my favorite city employee. The Office of Housing Stability was really established, for this purpose, to help renters that are at risk due to rising rent and gentrification. So I will fully fund and expand that office, as that is number one thing that I will do as far as this is concerned. Also, as I've stated before, again, we need to increase the affordable housing requirement for large, development. This is 20% is not enough. I don't need to, say that again. I sound like a broken record saying that. And also, we need to make sure that we have a community impact report. So community impact report and community benefit agreement, these are like the law of the land, because then you have, residents and businesses and people that come and have a seat at the table and determine what is best, in their neighborhood, what kind of benefits they want, what is family units or this and that. They all come together because this development, these are people coming all the way from maybe Chicago or wherever. There are people that have made this community what it is. We need to do everything possible to keep them. So community benefit agreement, one of the law of the land that should be established across, the city, and community impact reports to hold these developers accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. And lastly, for this question, we will have Billy once the timer is ready.
Timer is ready.
The old expression, talk is cheap. It's true. Talk is cheap. We can do everything we want and talk about it forever. But if you have elected officials aren't keeping their word and playing games, it doesn't mean anything. For the past 7 years, this city council and this administration we have now, they neglected to do their responsibility in fair housing. Take Assembly Road for example. It's supposed to be 20% for affordable housing. They voted unanimously to make it down to 12%, and they took them affordable units away from the people of Somerville. Our city council right now, they should all be fired. The administration should be fired. It's a shame what they did. A deal is a deal. They're supposed to have 20% to go to affordable housing. They made a special backroom deal at Assembly Row, and they all voted and make it 12%. There's your problem right there. We can come up with all the remedies in the world, but what good is it if our elected officials won't keep their word? I am the guy who's going to keep their word and make sure it's done. And I will treat the residents the way they should be treated, with respect and dignity and fairness. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Billy. So now Akita will be asking question number 5, the last question in this section.
Hello again, my name is Akita. I will be asking the next question. Affordable housing funding is critical, but limited. Subsidies often build homes that are still too expensive for the people struggling the most, with 1-bedroom rents over $1,500 per month. If elected to office, what policies would you focus on to ensure safe and affordable housing for all, but especially the lowest income residents of Somerville, those who are living at or below 30% of the area median income?
Thanks, Akita. So first, we will have Mary.
Timer is ready.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you for that question. And I agree with you that it is so critical. I mentioned that I have spent 30 years on the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which is a volunteer committee. And that was by choice because of my own lived experiences related to housing. And secondly, I just wanted to mention that I campaigned and worked on the Community Preservation Act so that there would be more funds for affordable housing. So I'll start there because more money is needed. And I think we're in a position where we would have resources from the federal through the state government. The governor has talked about $1 billion that would be statewide, but that would give us the opportunity to create affordable housing. And in particular, I think we should have deep subsidies and grants for the lowest income folks to become homeowners and have wealth. And with those programs have wraparound services and assistance, whether it be on career tracks and employment, and whatever health services might be needed, but the whole package of support for families to begin with, but deep commitment to expansion and grants to do that. We need more rental assistance vouchers from the state. And again, I mentioned those are not restricted like the federal vouchers as it relates to immigration status. More tax credit programs, which have been so helpful. And in fact, I was exploring a program with Cambridge Health Alliance and Affordable Housing using tax credits to have a health center in housing, again, bringing the services to the people, not people needing to travel for the services. We need some staffing increases. Ellen's name has come up so much. She's a force of nature and we all adore her work, not just in Somerville, but beyond. Land Trust Fund I mentioned, we should seed fund that, get that going, do more with the affordable house, 100 homes, but make sure that there is money for the maintenance. And as I mentioned, tax incentives. So that would be a multi-prong approach, as well as we need to preserve what we have. We need to protect existing programs like Cobble Hill and Clarendon Towers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And next we will have Will, once the timer's ready.
Okay, the timer is ready.
Okay. Thank you so much for that question. I know I sound like a broken record again when I talked about increasing the percentage of affordable housing for large development, having a community benefit agreement. These are things that we need to, continue to push for. I also want to say that I think we need to start to talk about rent control because it can be a tool to stabilize rent for people struggling. If you want to put the needs of renter first, which are the majority of our community residents, then you have to talk about rent control. That means that you're putting renters before developers. That's pretty clear. Making sure that working families, can be able to afford to live here. So I understand it's a pretty, dicey topic. When you talk about it, there's always like oppositions to it. But my thinking is almost like, if construction is booming and supply is increasing, why are rents increasing? So it's like people who even argue against rent control, I think it's almost like they are the same people who argue against, increasing the minimum wage. These are people that believe in trickle-down economics. We need to start having those conversations. And even if it's an improved version of rent control, we need to start having those conversations so that we can help our neighbors. This is real conversation. This is a real crisis. And we cannot continue, on the path that we've always been because it hasn't worked. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. And next we will have Billy.
And the timer is ready.
Again, this question brings me back to the prior one. What good is it? It's like if you have a third world country and you're bringing all that mutual aid over there, supplies, food and everything. What good is it if it's being delivered out the back door and the people aren't getting it? They're not getting it. What good is it? You can make all these plans. If you don't enforce these plans, it's just a joke. You got to put people, hold them accountable. They have to be held accountable, every single one of them, to make sure that aid gets there, the people get it, and they stick to what they're supposed to do. Give them 20% for affordable housing, not 12%. You made a deal with somebody. And you know something? I would build new affordable units. I would build them across the city. And the way to do that is you have to unclog the trouble at DPW, at the Inspectional Services Department. For development, you really want to bring these developers back to the city to get interest in building these affordable units and not taking 3 years in a clogged up system where it takes them 3 years just to get a permit, 2 years to get it inspected, another year to get an occupancy permit. You know, when it costs that much money to build a building because of all these delays in extended fees and everything like that, the cost of living goes up on that unit. If the owner of them buildings can't make the money and they can't stay within their budget, of course they're going to raise their rent. I want to fix the problem at the inspection services, unclog the problem we've had for the past 7 years with our city councils. Let them do their jobs. Let inspectional services unclog the cloggage over there. Let them give the permits out to the developers. Let them build their units. Let them get it done. Get it done with no cost overrun. Get it done in record time. Now, if they can get the unit done at record time at the right price, they can rent them out at the right price. Now you get affordable units. It's everything is broken in the city. It's got to be fixed. Everything's totally broken. And I'm the guy to fix that. I promise you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Billy. And then lastly, we have Tatiana.
Okay, and the timer is ready.
Thank you. So I've supported and advocated for housing solutions that have benefited our lowest income members of our community. And some of those have been like the Community Preservation Act, the Somerville Affordable Housing Trust Fund, the Affordable Housing Overlay zoning, the inclusionary zoning, increasing that to 20%, the condo conversion, the city's Office of Housing Stability, the 2,000 Homes Initiative, which was originally 100 Homes Initiative, the Somerville Community Land Trust, the Fair Housing Commission, and more. And as mayor, I'll encourage opportunities for collaboration with nonprofit developers and public housing developers and local affordable housing developers to utilize local properties that could be identified, or I should say underutilized local properties that can be identified and developed for purpose-built affordable housing under the new affordable housing district zoning. But there are other things that we can do. And I agree that we need to incentivize the creation of units that are affordable households with incomes closer to 30% of the AMI. And that is our service, you know, those are the people who work in the service industry and get $15 an hour. Provide a tax reduction or forgiveness to incentivize the creation of deed restricted units priced and targeted for households earning less than 50% AMI, or for deed restricted priced and targeted for families earning less than 30% AMI. Provide tax reductions or forgiveness to incentivize deed restricted units offered at 30% AMI levels. Consider strengthening the inclusionary zoning provision to eliminate the 100% or 110% AMI rental units from the mix. These units are hard to fill because anyone that can afford them doesn't want to be subject to the intensive annual recertification process. Consider strengthening the IZ ordinance to ensure small units, 1, 2 bedroom and family size units, and follow identical patterns of affordability. Use ARPA funds to help property owners and renters, lien properties for the amount of ARPA funds, provide down payment assistance, and more. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. We will now take the last several minutes of the forum to do lightning round questions. I am passing it to Matt.
Hello, I am Matt. Thank you, candidates, for showing up to the forum. I will start the questions. For the final section, called the lightning round, we will ask candidates a new question every 20 seconds. They will need to respond to the questions at the same time with a yes or no answer using the signs provided. Yes signs are green and no signs are red. We have 10 questions for this round. Let's begin.
Before you start, Matt, just for clarification for the candidates, Matt will ask each question and then I'll click the timer and you'll have 20 seconds to hold up your signs. Okay, go for it, Matt.
The Massachusetts state of emergency ended in June 15, and the Somerville Board of Health decided to extend our local eviction moratorium for 90 days, so until September 15. Do you support a 12-month extension on the memorandum for the end of the state emergency, which would be until June 2022?
Okay, thank you, candidates.
All right, question number 2. Do you support making Somerville fair housing laws stronger by removing barriers to housing, specifically both Corey's criminal records and bad credit?
Thank you, candidates.
Question number 3. Do you support eviction records, ceiling protections for tenants so that evictions from the past do not become a barrier to housing in the present?
Okay. Thank you, candidates. And just a reminder to please hold up your signs for about 5 seconds so that we can make sure we see everyone's responses. So go for it, Matt.
Okay, question number 4. Do you support stronger oversight of the Inspectional Service Department, ISD, to improve the enforcement of housing, health, and safety codes?
Okay, thank you, candidates.
Question number 5. Do you support municipal tools for rent control?
What was the question?
Do you support municipal tools for rent control?
Okay. Thank you, Matt.
Question number 6. Do you support stronger oversight of the inclusionary housing program to make the application process of communication for residents in these units more accessible?
Okay. Thank you, candidates.
Question number 7. Do you support requiring all developers to enter into community benefits agreement, CSAS, so that community need is central to the development process?
Thank you, candidates.
Question number 8. Do you support municipal ownership of affordable housing, not necessarily all such housing, but some portions of the city housing stock?
Great. Thank you, candidates.
Question number 9. Do you support guaranteeing the right to counsel so that all tenants have legal representation in court eviction proceedings?
Great. Thank you, candidates.
Final question. Do you support allocating of federal COVID relief funds to cancel all the following types of debt in Somerville: rent, mortgage, and utility?
Mary, can you hold up, candidates, can you hold up your signs one more time?
Mute. I didn't hear the question. Can you repeat it? I'm sorry.
Okay, question number 10 is, do you support allocating of federal COVID relief funds to cancel all the following types of debt in Somerville: rent, mortgage, and utility?
Okay. Thank you, candidates.
This concludes our lightning round. Thank you, candidates, for all your response tonight. I am passing it to Fabio.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Fabiano. I'm a community organizer at CAAS. On behalf of the Somerville Renters Committee and CAAS, we are sincerely grateful for everyone's time and attention tonight. Thank you to the 4 candidates running for Mayor of Somerville for participating in our forum to share your vision and policy proposals for housing in our city. We especially want to thank the Somerville Renters Committee, who are volunteer leaders from our community, for your months of hard work to turn this forum idea into reality. If any Somerville resident, especially renters, would you like to learn more about the CAAS community organizing program and join our movement of families and neighbors to create a better Somerville for everyone, please reach out to us. We can also connect you to our older anti-poverty programs at CAAS for housing, stability, and early childhood education. Magda will leave our email and phone number in the Zoom chat. Finally, as for next steps, we will email everyone a link to this forum recording later this week and links to the housing questionnaires submitted by these candidates. We also encourage candidates to share their contact information with the public in case anyone has questions we did not cover tonight. The Somerville Renters Committee is hosting City Council forums later this week that are not open to the public, but we will email the video recordings once they are ready. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Good night, everyone, and stay safe.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Good night. Thank you for your time and your hard work.
Remember to vote September 14th.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.